All right, let's dive into the story of one of the most famous and, let's be honest, controversial figures in all of history, Napoleon Bonaparte. I mean, this is a story that's just got everything: ambition, pure genius, and a thirst for power that literally redrew the map of the world.
Just think about this for a second. Forget owning a kingdom or even a massive empire. What if one man came this close to ruling the entire world? It sounds like something straight out of fiction, right? But for Napoleon, this was almost his reality.
And here's the real kicker, the part that makes his story just so incredible. This wasn't some prince who was handed power on a silver platter. Nope, this was an outsider, a guy from the absolute margins who literally clawed his way to the very, very top. It's an unbelievable story, so let's get into it. Okay, so to really get who the emperor was, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the boy. Because his journey didn't start in some fancy Parisian palace. Oh no, it started far, far away from the centers of power, on this rugged little island where that legendary ambition of his was first forged.
You know, all these things together created the perfect storm. He was born on the island of Corsica, which basically made him a total outsider in France. He was teased relentlessly for his accent. People looked down on him because his family didn't have much money. He was, for all intents and purposes, the classic underdog. So what did he do? He took all that resentment, all that frustration, and channeled it into one single-minded obsession: mastering the art of war.
And you know what? All of that burning personal ambition was about to smash head-on into a world that was basically on fire. History was about to serve up a moment of pure, unadulterated chaos, and believe me, Napoleon was more than ready to grab it with both hands.
See, while France was just tearing itself apart during the French Revolution, overthrowing its king, completely rewriting its entire society, most people just saw chaos and destruction. But Napoleon? He saw a ladder. The old rules were gone. A whole new game was starting, and it was a game that a brilliant, ruthless military mind could absolutely dominate.
I mean, the speed of his rise is it's mind-boggling. In just a handful of years, he goes from being a complete nobody to commanding entire armies. Think about this. By age 26, an age when most of us are still figuring things out, he was already a general in what was then the most powerful military in Europe. It's just breathtaking. And this is the turning point, right? This is where the general becomes a full-blown conqueror. His ambition wasn't just to serve France anymore. Oh no, it was for France, under his command, to dominate, well, everything.
So, how in the world did he pull it off? It wasn't just luck, that's for sure. He literally rewrote the book on warfare. While other armies were just lumbering across the continent, all slow and predictable, Napoleon's forces were like a lightning strike, a blur of speed and surprise. They were constantly outmaneuvering their enemies, who were just left completely stunned.
And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. One by one, country after country, even ancient empires that had stood for centuries, they all fell before him. It was just like watching a line of dominoes topple across the entire continent. And with each victory, he just got more powerful and a whole lot more feared. And this is the ultimate symbol of his journey, of his power. He wasn't crowned by the Pope, he wasn't chosen by some group of nobles. In a move that has become legendary, he literally took the crown and placed it on his own head. The message couldn't have been clearer. My power comes from me and me alone. The total outsider was now the absolute ruler.
But as history so often teaches us, those meteoric rises can lead to some truly devastating falls. Right at the absolute peak of his power, Napoleon would make one decision, a single choice that would unravel every single thing he had built.
I mean, just stop and think about that. What could possibly stop a man like this, a guy who had conquered an entire continent? What could possibly be his undoing? One decision. One single, catastrophic mistake. Invading Russia. It was a gamble so massive, it would end up costing him his entire empire.
So he marched into Russia with his legendary Grand Armée. We're talking over 500,000 soldiers, one of the biggest armies Europe had ever seen. But he wasn't defeated by another general or a clever tactic. No. He was defeated by Mother Nature herself. The brutal, unforgiving Russian winter, with its starvation and its bone-chilling temperatures, it did what no other army on Earth could do. It completely annihilated his forces.
Okay, so after that total disaster in Russia, Napoleon was weak. He was vulnerable, and his enemies, well, they could smell blood in the water.
They all gathered for one final, massive confrontation to put an end to his reign once and for all.
Waterloo. It's one of the most famous battles in all of history, and for very good reason. This was it, the final, bloody showdown. And at Waterloo, the combined might of pretty much all of Europe finally crushed him. The age of Napoleon was over.
And the end of his story is just as dramatic as the beginning. The man who had controlled a continent, who made kings and toppled empires, was shipped off to die as a prisoner on St. Helena, a tiny, remote speck of rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. A truly lonely, quiet end for a life lived on the world's biggest stage.
So, after that epic rise and that catastrophic fall, what do we make of him? When all the dust settles, how does history remember this one man who so completely reshaped the world?
Well, this is where it gets really complicated, right? On the one hand, you have to admit he was a genius. His Napoleonic Code, this revolutionary set of laws that promoted ideas like religious tolerance and got rid of feudalism, it's still the foundation for legal systems in dozens of countries today. But on the other hand, he was a tyrant. His endless, boundless ambition fueled nonstop war, which led to the deaths of millions of people.
So, what's the final verdict? Is he a genius, a tyrant, or just a legend? Was he a brilliant modernizer who dragged Europe, kicking and screaming, out of the Dark Ages? Or was he a power-hungry dictator who bathed the entire continent in blood? The truth is, he was probably all of those things at once. The one thing we know for sure is that his impact was unforgettable, leaving us to debate his legacy forever.